Hey everyone, I'm Catherine Bruni-Young, and this is a mindful strength practice. So today's practice is going to be all about making strength and mobility and functional movement kind of flow together. I know that sometimes strength training isn't super accessible and sometimes maybe it feels a little bit choppy. And so for people who like how a yoga class feels, sometimes that doesn't always work for them. So what we're going to do today is a practice that's done on a yoga mat. You're going to need 2 blocks, and it's just this kind of seamless flow of movements that are going to hopefully help you develop a little bit more strength, a little bit more mobility, and just in a more functional and kind of hopefully practical way. This class is from the Mindful Strength Virtual Studio, which is my online studio where every month we put up a whole bunch of new classes. Oftentimes they're just like this. Sometimes I'm also teaching in front of a room full of people, which is kind of cool. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can check out my website, check out the virtual studio, and all of the other awesome free things that we have to offer. Okay, grab your 2 blocks and I'll see you in a moment. So the only props we're going to use today are 2 blocks, and we're just going to get started on our mat. Let's come on down into a table position with the hands and the knees on the floor. Take a moment, wiggle things around till you feel like everything is in the right place, and then let's just start to move the spine and move the trunk. Maybe flexing the spine, extending the spine. You can also do a bit of a side bend, kind of pulling one ear towards one hip, maybe the other way as well. You could start to bend one elbow, maybe starting to lean the hips back towards a child's pose every now and again. And we're basically just going to keep all 4 limbs making contact with the floor. So we're not moving the hands or the feet, but just trying to move everything in between them. And it's just kind of slowly warming the body up, seeing how things feel. Notice where things want to move, where things maybe need a little bit more of a warm up. And then let's take the hands a little closer to the knees. Come on onto the fists, placing the fists on the floor. Squeeze the hands nice and tight. And then let's walk down onto the tops of the hands, just doing a little bit of wrist prep. Go onto the edges, the outer edges, the inner edges of the hand, giving a bit of a stretch to the thumb. Come onto the fingertips. Just doing all the different hand positions that you can possibly think of. And if some positions feel a little bit more strong, you can walk your hands a little bit further away from your knees. But some positions are going to require a little bit less pressure. So for those positions, walk your hands quite a bit closer to the knees. We don't want to put too much pressure, especially because we're just warming things up. And these hand positions are kind of awkward. Okay, from there, let's come all the way down onto the front of the body. And let's take the arms right out to your sides. You could rest the forehead on the floor, or you could keep your head slightly lifted, whatever's good for you. Let's lift the arms up off of the floor and do some little circles here. Just simple circles out to your sides, starting to warm up the muscles in the backs of the shoulders and a little bit in the upper back, and also getting into the mobility of the chest. Couple more times here. If you've been having your head on the floor the whole time and you want to try lifting the head up a little bit, maybe with a little bit of extension through the spine, that's definitely an option. Let's roll the shoulders back and hold them back. Try to feel like you're squeezing the muscles of the upper back. Place the hands, palms down beside the chest. Use your knees. Push yourself back up to the table position. Let's sit back into some type of child's pose. And then we're going to flow forwards right away into a modified plank with the knees on the floor. And let's slowly, with control, lower the body down. Again, take the arms out to the sides. You can decide head down or head up. Lift the arms. Let's do a few circles. If your head is up and you want to go a little bit more, then you can also lift your legs up. Just energizing all of the limbs. Maybe tucking the chin a little bit in so we're not feeling like we're crunching the back of the neck. Roll the shoulders back, hold them back, place the feet on the floor, hands beside the chest. Use your knees, push yourself up. Again, let's go into the child's pose. Have a moment. And then again, let's come forwards to the modified plank with your knees on the floor. With control, slowly lower your body down. Last time, arms out to the sides, head could be up or down. If you're gonna lift your legs up this time, then you can also make circles with your legs. So circles with your arms and really tiny circles with your legs. So circling right from the hip joint. Try to keep the legs nice and straight. Try to keep the arms nice and straight. Last couple circles, just trying to warm up, wake up all these nice muscles in the back of the body. Take the hands, palms down beside the chest. Use your knees, push yourself up. This time, let's come into a downward dog pose. If you need to move yourself a little bit forwards on your mat, you can. Don't worry so much about the exact alignment of the dog pose, but just kind of moving things around. Noticing if anything feels like it needs a little bit of a stretch. And just using the downward dog pose right now, just as a full body movement. We could use this pose for so many different things, and that'll really change the way we're practicing it. But for right now, just treating it as like a full body move, stretch, and just using the downward dog pose to get into any parts of the body. From downward dog, let's keep the feet where they are, and one by one, walk your hands into your feet. Coming into a forward fold, relaxing the weight of the head down. Maybe relax the neck a little bit. And let's slowly roll up through the spine, pushing the feet into the floor, using those trunk muscles to incrementally lift the body up. The head is going to be the last part of the body to look forwards, and then slowly draw the chin down into the chest, and let's roll it all the way back down towards the floor. As the fingertips touch the floor, let's walk the hands all the way out into a plank position. Pause when you get into the plank. Let's see if it's possible to lift one hand off of the floor, place it down, lift the other hand up. Try to stay organized through your trunk and through your core. Place it down, walk your hands back in to your feet. Forward fold just for one moment, and then slowly rolling up through the spine, all the way to standing, and then slowly rolling back down through the spine, all the way to the floor, walking the hands out into the plank position. And then same thing, can we lift one hand up? Maybe this time you also lift the opposite foot and step them down. And lifting the other ones up, hold for a second or two, place them down one by one, walk your hands into your feet, forward fold, slowly roll up through the spine, just getting a bit of movement through the trunk, giving our arms and our legs a quick little rest. We're going to do this one more time, slowly rolling the body down. Walking the hands out. Plank position, lifting one hand, maybe the opposite foot if you can find your balance. Let's hold for a couple extra seconds this time. Notice what your head position is wanting to do, your lower back. Let's switch. And just kind of waking up the whole body. The body's going to figure things out here. Place the hands on the floor, and then one by one walk your feet up towards your hands. So you're in a forward fold again. Relax the weight of the head down, and then slowly rolling up through the spine. All the way to standing. Let's stretch the arms up and over the head. Reaching up really tall. And then let's start to hinge forwards this time. So maybe a little bend in the legs. Let the weight of the head drop down. Let's lengthen up about halfway, coming more to that neutral spine shape. Place the hands on the floor. Let's step back into a plank position. From the plank position, let's lower the body with control to the floor. When you touch the floor, put your knees down and push yourself back up. Then let's go back to downward dog, taking the hips up into the air. Maybe relax your jaw a little bit if you feel like you're clenching. And then 2 more times, we're going to do this little plank push-up. So let's come forwards to the plank position. With control, lower the body down to the ground, and then use your knees to right away push yourself back up and take it back to the downward dog. Taking a moment here, do any little adjustments you need. And then last one, come forwards for plank. Pause for a sec with control. Slow lower. Knees touch, push yourself up and back to downward dog pose. And this time in downward dog, you can pedal, you can move things around. You could also put your knees on the floor and do like a child's pose. Again, just using this pose kind of for whatever you need at this point. Maybe you feel it more as like a spine lengthener. Maybe you can feel your waist a little bit. Maybe you focus more on your feet and your ankles. And then from downward dog, let's start to look forwards, and 1 little inch at a time. Let's step the feet all the way up towards the hands. Your feet can be a bit separated. Coming into a forward fold, let the weight of the head relax down. Let's glide the fingertips about halfway up the legs, lengthen out the spine, coming more to that kind of neutral position. And then from there, all the way up to the standing. Stretch the arms up towards the ceiling. Slowly, hands down by the sides. Let's take the 2 blocks. Place the blocks on your mat, and you want to have them just a little bit ahead of your feet. So when we stand, we can hinge and just easily touch the blocks. You don't feel like you have to lean too far forwards to catch them. With the fingertips on the blocks, let's start to take the right leg back into the air. And we'll keep the foot flexed and the big toe pointing down just for right now. And let's do a couple pulses here. So lifting the leg up and lowering the leg down just a bit. Now, as you're pulsing your leg, we're going to probably start to feel the standing leg kicking in. If you want to have a little bend in the standing leg, you can try that out. And as you lift the top leg up, can we feel the glute muscles, the bum muscles, the hamstrings doing the lifting? Can we keep the spine, and in particular the lower part of the spine, more stable so it's not really moving too much? The movement is coming more from the hip, more from the leg in this one. Then let's lift the leg up and hold it up. We're going to take a bit of a step back so we end up in a short lunge, and then come all the way up. Hands go to the hips. Looking forwards with the eyes, let's do a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt as we slowly lower the knee down towards the ground. You don't actually have to touch, but it's just going in that direction and then coming back up. So in this version of the lunge, trying to keep the knee pretty much underneath the head. Trying to keep the head over the hips, hips over the knee, just so we can target more the quads and trying to get this nice kind of active stretch through the front of the legs. It's such a challenging movement. It looks so simple, but it's actually quite difficult. Let's do one more time. This time we're going to lower the knee right down to the floor. You can inch your left foot a little out to the left side. Place the right hand down. Take the left arm up into the air, and then let's do some circles in the air with that top arm. And just opening up through the front of the chest. Try to keep the trunk, again, quite stable and stationary as the shoulder joint does that nice active circular motion up there. Notice if you can feel the muscles around the shoulder blade, the back of the arm, maybe a little bit through the upper back. And then slowly coming back to your lunge, we're going to see if we can tuck the back foot under, gather the strength of the legs, lifting the body up. We're going to tilt the body forwards, fingertips back to the blocks, and then can we hover that back leg, and from here come all the way up to standing. See if you can hold your balance as you hinge, just far enough to tap the blocks gently and then slowly coming back up. Let's do this 2 more times. Just like a single leg deadlift or a more dynamic warrior 3. Touch and lift. Last one, touch and lift. And stand on that right foot, and we're gonna hinge forwards. Place the fingertips on the blocks for support, lift the back leg up, and then let's do some pulses just like we did on the other side. So the standing leg could be a little bit bent. Whatever helps you feel stronger through that leg is good. Notice your head position, especially if the head always has a tendency to want to drop down. And then pulsing that top leg really from the hip. So try not to overly extend the lower back just for this movement right now. Let's do one more pulse here. And then let's start to bend the standing leg. Take a nice step back, coming up into kind of a short-ish lunge. Hands can be on the hips. Let's do a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt and then start to lower straight down, straight up. So you'll notice in this lunge, we're not going forwards with the chest. We're trying to keep the head right over top of the hips, hips right over top of the knee, and it's for this distinct purpose of just stretching as we're strengthening the quads. So nice kind of active stretch. This is one of my favorite types of lunges. Not that the other lunges are bad, but this one is just gives something a little bit different. So I like to add it in whenever possible. You don't have to touch the floor. You could, but it's not necessary. You'll probably have the feelings even if you don't touch the floor. Let's lower right down to the ground. Inch your right foot a little out to the side, make some more space. Place the left hand down, right arm up into the air, and then circles up there. Nice controlled shoulder circles. And even though the rest of the body is also in the shape, can we have the movement coming mainly from that top arm? Just trying to open up a little bit of mobility through the chest. Bringing a little bit of life into all those nice muscles in the back of the arm and the back of the shoulder. And then coming back up into the lunge, we're going to tuck the back foot under, gather the strength of the legs, get organized through your body, lifting up. Let's hinge forwards, place the fingertips on the blocks, coming back into that warrior three kind of shape. And then from there, all the way up to standing. Trying to move with as much control as possible. Let's do 3 slow hinges. So trying to hinge at the hip just far enough to tap the blocks. Come on up. The standing leg can definitely be bent for this movement. You can experiment though with a bent leg and with a straight leg, and you can see how it feels for you. Trying to keep the head in line with the rest of the spine. From here, we're going to come to standing, and let's just stand on 2 feet as we stretch the arms up over the head, reaching up nice and tall. Let's start to hinge forwards. We're going to take the blocks and just put them a little bit out to the sides as you come into your forward fold. And then place the hands on the floor, step back into the plank. From the plank, you can use your knees if necessary to lower your body down to the ground with control. Let's take our blocks and put them a little bit in front of you. It could be on the high height. It could also be on the low height. We're going to reach the arms up over the head. And then if possible, keeping your head down, lift the arms up and try to take the hands up and over the blocks. And then bring your hands back in between the blocks. Now try to keep the elbows nice and straight so you really feel like you're moving right from the shoulders. Thumbs could point up to the ceiling, getting a little bit of external rotation. But if you can't do that perfectly, don't worry about it. And let's just do a couple more times, up and over the blocks. Just using the blocks as a little bit of a boundary, like a little bit of a task to get the arms moving. And then let's lift the arms up, lift the head up, look a little bit forwards. Take your hands, palms down beside the chest. Try to use the strength of the upper back, use your knees, push yourself up. Let's go into a downward dog pose, take the hips into the air. From downward dog, let's bring the left knee down onto the floor. We're going to pivot on the left knee so you're facing the side of your mat. Right foot goes flat. And taking the right arm all the way up towards the ceiling. Let's start to stretch that right arm up and over the head, arcing through the side of the waist. And then take the hand down beside the side of the body, kind of feeling like you're closing the side of the waist a little bit. Reach the arm up and over. Open it up, try to arc through the ribs. And then close. Let's do one more time. Up and over. And then close, and then hold that position as we flex the right foot and lift the right leg up off the floor. Holding here for a couple counts, reaching the right fingertips down along the side of the body towards the pinky toe. Flexing your foot, maybe spread the toes open a little bit if that helps you feel like you're more connected to that leg. And then let's just do some little pulses with that right leg. So we start to feel the outside of the bum muscles, maybe starting to burn a little bit, starting to kick in. Maybe we feel the bottom leg as well. And then let's place that right foot down and lifting the body up. From here, we're gonna do a couple hinges. So we hinge a little bit at the hips. We're gonna lower the waist down just a touch, but then be able to lift the body back up. This is going to be a little bit different for everyone. Some of you will be able to lower so far that the hand might touch the floor. And then coming up, some of you might not get the hand to the floor, that's okay too. But we just want to feel like we're using the muscles on the side of the body, maybe a little bit differently. Some of you might be able to put the hand right down to the floor. We want to make sure we're not pushing the hand into the floor. So not a lot of momentum for this one. Let's do one more time, down and up, and then we're gonna come up and stay up. Take your arms out to the sides, get ready to find your balance. If your knee is sore on the floor, double up your mat a little bit, and we're gonna see if it's possible to lift that right foot off the floor. And holding for a couple counts. And then placing it down. We're gonna probably feel the outside of those glutes. All those nice little muscles in there. Again, let's see if we can lift it up. Let your body wobble. It's not supposed to be completely still. And lower it down. Give yourself a little rest. Let's do just one more time. Lifting it up. Ooh. And then circle it down towards the floor. Let's take the hips up into the air for a downward dog pose. And just kind of move things around. You might be having a lot of feelings right now on one side of your body, which is kind of normal. So let's just use the downward dog pose to just have a moment and regroup a little bit. And then let's place the right knee down on the floor. Take your right foot behind your mat, left foot flat. Left arm up and towards the air, and then let's stretch the arm up and over your head, arc through the side of the ribs and the waist, and then take the hand down along the side of the body, close the ribs and the waist, and then arc up and over, and then close through the waist, and again, up, reach, 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 and down. Hold it there, and then let's see if we can lift that left foot up off of the floor. So reaching the right fingertips towards your foot, flexing your foot, try to energize the foot as much as you can, and then let's do some pulses here, lifting it up and down. So we really start to feel the outside of the hip. Sometimes we don't lift the leg in this way very often, so it can feel very challenging. So we just want to get in there a little bit. You might also feel like you're using a little bit the side of the neck muscles just to keep the head in line with the rest of the trunk. And then let's place the foot down on the floor, lifting the body up. With the hands on the hips, we're going to start with just a little bit of a hip hinge and just see how far your body can go sideways. Some of you might stay up like this. Others might be able to lower the fingertips to the floor and come back up. We just want to feel like we're moving with control, so we're not like flinging things around too much. Maybe feeling muscles around the hips or the core or the waist. But just trying to do the really simple move in a way that feels somewhat organized. And then let's come all the way up. Take your arms out to your sides, find your balance, and we're gonna hover that back foot and see if you can hold for a couple seconds, This side might feel more challenging, and then place it down. If you need to adjust anything, you can. Let's try to do that 2 more times, lifting the foot and just seeing what happens. And lowering it down. Let's do 1 more time. Just doing something that's a little bit different. Good, lowering it down, and let's step it back to the downward dog pose. Taking the hips up into the air, take a moment, move things around, pedal through your feet. Pedal through all the different parts of the body, get your shoulders moving, maybe get your spine moving a little bit. From downward dog, let's look forwards and begin to walk your feet just one at a time up towards the hands. You can have the feet a little bit wide if you like. Let the weight of the head drop down. And then from here, let's start to bend the knees and come down into any type of squat. If your heels need to lift off the floor, that's fine. Just letting the bum sink as low as possible. And then any way that you can, maybe you're using your hands, we're gonna lower the bum right down towards the floor. And then any way that you can, back into the squat. And then we'll do this a couple times, but the next time I want you to try to do it differently. So now I'm going kind of like one side at a time, all the way down to the bum, all the way back into the squat. And then do it on the other side. And basically just try to do things that are different. Sometimes you're gonna need your hands, other times you might not. So you're just kind of seeing how it goes. Using your hands when you need them. Give yourself more space if you need to. And then not using your hands when you don't need them. Trying to get right down to the floor and then right back into the squat. So we do this to like further mobilize the legs, the feet, all the different parts of the legs. Such a simple movement, but it's really quite challenging to stay down this low and move around this much. Last couple tries, whatever you're working on, using your hands when you need them. And then from the squat, let's come back into the forward fold, letting the weight of the heads drop down. Let's start to roll up through the spine, really pushing the feet into the floor, rolling all the way up. As you come on up to standing, let's stretch the arms up and over the head. Reach up nice and tall. Begin to hinge forwards. Letting the weight of the head drop down. Place the hands on the floor. Step into a plank. From the plank, let's slowly lower to the ground, maybe using the knees if necessary. Once you're down on the floor, let's do a few extensions. So take the arms out to the sides and let's lift everything up off of the floor, as much or as little as you like. And then slowly lower back down. Let's do this 2 more times. Lifting up. And we're down. And lifting up. Let's hold this time and start to move the limbs. Like move your hands, move your feet, bend a little bit to the side. Do all the things that you like never do in this shape. Take the hands behind you. Move your wrists and your ankles in kind of like weird ways. Maybe try to get your hands over top of the blocks again. Just trying to get all the different parts of the back chain to kind of kick in. And then place the hands beside the chest. Use your knees. Push yourself up back to the downward dog position. Take the hips into the air. Pedal a little bit. Maybe relax the neck a little bit. And let's place the knees down on the floor. We're gonna step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Let's start to sink the pelvis forwards down towards the floor. So you come into kind of like a low lunge. If you like, you can take your right hand on your thigh and you can turn the upper body a little bit. So some of us might be staying here, just kind of going into that initial stretch. Other people might be able to reach that right arm back. Other people might be able to bend that back knee, and you could even just touch your fingertips and then let it go down and do it like that. Or you could grab your foot with your hand. If you're holding it, then you want to pull your foot in towards you, hold a couple counts in the stretch, and then can you keep your foot where it is, but let go of your hand? So really starting to use the muscles in the back of the legs. And then if possible, grabbing it again, pulling it in, trying to hold it there, even as you let go of the hand. If that just feels like it's impossible, just go down to the floor and up. And maybe you could just try to touch the tips of the toes to the tips of the fingers. So spend another couple moments here, just kind of working at it in any way that feels appropriate for you. And then let's place the foot back onto the floor, taking the hands onto the floor. You might have to walk your right foot a little bit more out to the side if you need more space there. Lifting the back knee up, and then let's see if it's possible to lift the right foot off the floor and put it back down. Let's do that 2 more times. This is difficult. Lift it up and down, up and down, and then lift it up and just step it back. Let's put the right knee on the floor, step your left foot to the outside of the left hand, let the pelvis sink down. Wiggle things around till it's in the right spot for you, kind of like based on your proportions and everything like that. And then you could start to reach the hand back. You could start to lift your foot up. Another option is you can grab the foot. And even if you're pulling it in with your hand, see if you can pull it in, but then let go of it and hold it there. And just kind of alternating. Trying out these different things. Seeing what happens. You might notice a little bit of hamstring activity. Maybe it just feels like a really nice stretch in your quads. Whatever it is, it's all good. Last couple moments here. Just kind of wiggling around. And then let's place the foot back on the floor. Hands both down. You might have to step your foot quite a bit out to the side to make this part happen. Tuck the back foot under, lift that back knee up, and then can we hover the foot and lower it down. So we try to gather strength from the entire body. Lift it up and down. One more time. Up, down, and step it back. Step it right back to downward dog pose. Pause for a sec, and then let's come down to the floor. Let's take the legs out to the sides. Maybe take them a bit wide, not right out to your max, but just maybe like 70, 80%. And let's start to just hinge forwards a little bit. Seeing how it feels to give a bit of a stretch to the inner thighs, and then coming back up. And just doing this movement a couple times. Notice what it feels like if you squeeze your bum, squeeze your quads, relax the muscles. I like to alternate a little bit. You could dig your heels into the floor. You could try to relax that action. So just kind of trying some different things. It doesn't have to be one way. And if your practice is already quite active, you don't have to do every stretch actively. We could just have a more passive, relaxing stretch. If the rest of our practice and the rest of our training is quite active, then don't be afraid of a little bit of passive stretching. So just kind of moving things around, checking it out. If you want to bend to the side a little bit, if you want to twist your upper back a little bit. And then let's let's place the soles of the feet on the floor, maybe like the width of your mat, so a little bit wide. And let's drop both knees over to the left side. With your left hand on the floor for support, reach the right arm back into a full body twist and really reach through the whole body. And then slowly unwind, reach that arm towards the front of the mat. And so we're gonna just do this a couple times. The next time you do it, try to reach up a little bit higher, like you're going onto a top shelf. The next time you do it, maybe you reach more into the bottom shelf. Just kind of seeing where your body wants to go. Maybe you flex the upper spine a little bit. Notice if you want to extend the spine as you turn. Notice where you always go, and maybe there's some spots that feel a little bit different today. Let's do our last one on this side, wherever you're at. And then slowly take it over to the other side. Knees drop down, right hand behind you for support, reaching into the twist. And slowly releasing. I like to practice this as like a dynamic movement, so we're just kind of moving in and out of it, but if you really want to go in and like hold for 10 counts, you can also do that. Definitely an option. Notice if there's different parts of your ribs that you can move. Notice what you want to do with your breath. Like your breath is moving your ribs, so breathing in a way that helps you get the most out of your twist. Sometimes I like to go into the pose, then take a couple breaths. Other times I don't think about it. I don't worry about it so much. So just kind of doing what feels right for you and maybe letting the breath just do whatever it wants to do, especially if you're used to always kind of controlling it. And then let's release. Let's come right down onto the back. Taking a moment, drop the legs a little bit from side to side. Just wiggling things around. If you'd like, you can stretch your arms over your head. And just, if you could choose the next movement that you do, something that feels kind of restful and calming, just take a moment, think about what you might want to do, and then do that. So you could do what I'm doing, but you could also just do whatever you want. Just kind of figuring out where your body's at right now, what it needs a little bit more of, and just letting your body kind of guide the last couple minutes of the practice. Using the breath however you want, however it makes sense for you. Noticing if there's any part that like feels like it needs a little bit of an extra stretch today or a little extra movement. And just taking these last couple minutes to just do what you want to do without overthinking it, without like thinking too much about what's going on, just going by how you're feeling. And you could continue moving if you need a little bit more time. You could also settle into a more restful pose for a couple of minutes. Whatever you feel like you need to do. We'll just take a couple more moments all together. Maybe starting to feel the different parts of the body. Maybe the different parts where you might feel the blood flowing. Maybe we could feel the muscles that we were working with today. And just taking a couple minutes, if you have some more time today, to just let things unwind, let things calm down. I hope you enjoyed this flowing practice, and I will see you all soon.